right, folks. Welcome back this evening. And let's see, I got something down here. Let me check. Sorry, just looking at a note that Brandon left me a minute ago in the private chat. So anyway, folks, a great show tonight. Unfortunately, we have to talk about this stupidity, but it's good to hear it straight from the source. So without further ado, let me start the recording, and we shall proceed with the Liberty Talk.
The Constitution isn't just a document. It's a blueprint for freedom. We're breaking down politics at every level, exposing government overreach, and going where the mainstream media surely won't. Join us in defending individual rights against the bureaucratic tide. You're listening to the Missouri Liberty Report.
All right, folks, and we're back for another Stupid City Rules edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. We've got another guest lined up this evening. I'm sorry, my dog is really wanting attention right now. She's right up, trying to climb up my lap. Anyway, tonight we have with us Chris Bank from the city of St. Peters. Now, I'm going to let Chris tell his story, but just to preface the episode, all right, Chris did the unthinkable thing of growing too many sunflowers in his yard. That's right. He violated some stupid city rule, something to do with flowers to grass ratio, all those things. So we're gonna talk about that tonight. Also next week, as of right now, tentatively, we're gonna have an old friend of the show on next week by the name of Tony Lavasco, because he has announced he is going to be running for state rep again. I guess whoever from his district is decided to run for a county level seat of some kind. So she is going to give up her House seat in 2026. So Tony is going to throw his name back in the hat. So we're going to have Tony Lavasco on with us next week, hopefully, to talk about his campaign and some things he'd like to get done and so on and so forth. But without further ado, let's get to tonight's guest, Mr. Chris Bank. Chris, thanks so much for taking time out and joining us this evening. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Chris, I guess just to start off, to begin with, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the topic at hand here. That's Brandon and I have covered this article a couple times since he's joined me as my co-host. And we've talked about this stupidity a couple times and how we just want to roll our face on the keyboard, our prospective keyboards. But tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into the hot topic.
Well, I grew up in a small town up north past Troy, Missouri. My family, we raised and showed horses. So I'm familiar with, all my friends were farmers. Well, I wasn't a farmer, but we had horses and stuff like that and cattle and stuff. So I grew up in the country, small town stuff. And I bought my house here in St. Peters in 1999. Moved in, been here since then. So been in St. Peters for quite a while. My job is currently in the auto industry. Just your normal everyday guy. I try to be, at least anyway. And until this rolled around and happened, and I was just literally floored about what was going on, and where common logic had been thrown out the window. This is, and when I break it out to people, and they're like, and they hear the story for the first time or the fifth time that it's been going on, they're still just shocked that this is still going on as well as I am. But St. Peters, I had a kind of a real tough time, in my life here. I was kind of just in the wintertime, and when you have Thanksgiving and the holidays and you're kind of by yourself, it's a little bit downing. Everything's kind of closed and you're kind of kept indoors. But I started doing some research on sunflowers for all purposes' sakes, and I had a lot of time to do that. Well, as I was doing that, I started ordering all different kinds of seeds. I found places you could order different kinds of color ones: oranges, reds, chocolate ones, white ones. I didn't know that was that many sunflowers. And I started to order the seeds, and I didn't realize how many I had until I decided to get them out in the springtime and start planting them. And I was like, oh boy, I have quite a few. How am I going to do this? I would like to see all of them in the ground, but like, how could I do this in an organized way? Well, I decided my backyard was not going to work because it's actually full with nothing but trees. It's real tall shade back there. You would think I'm in the woods in the backyard. In front yard is totally opposite, wide open and everything. But I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I can use not my entire front yard, but it's pretty much of it in the front section. But I want to do it in an organized fashion where if I plant these sunflowers, not only, will they take up the front yard, but I also will need to cut the grass and treat my yard just like everybody else's yard. That was going to be a challenge because I figured if I grow these, I got to trim my yard like everybody else. I didn't know there was a sunflower law in St. Peter's. I had gotten the first letter as I had started them. I start the sunflowers out to give you a quick background. Sunflowers come in heights from anywhere from 4 feet to 14 feet. So what I did was I put the smaller ones in the front, medium ones in the middle, big ones in the back, just like bleachers, basically, literally like bleachers. So I had drilled a 3-inch hole and spaced them out 8 to 10 inches for the next one and so on to the edge of each of my yard, and then made a 14-inch walkway and then started the same row again and again until I basically made a pathway down each row. So not only can I cut the grass that way, but I could also see every sunflower that opened up. When I got my first letter, I was actually taken off guard. I was like, great, is this a joke? I thought somebody was playing a joke on me. And then so I reached out, and no, sure enough, St. Peter's had a sunflower law. And it said you cannot have more than 50% sunflower ratio to turf ratio, which I didn't want to just assume anything. So I assumed turf was grass, but I asked. And so I called the city of St. Peter's and I said, oh, so is turf grass ratio to sunflowers? And they said, yes. And I said, well, we're good. And I said, I said, first of all, how did you come to this ratio that I was breaking this ratio? And they said, oh, we have a horticultural expert that measured. And I was like, really? I was like, that's unusual. How would you technically measure this out? But I'll roll with this. I said, well, if you're going to measure the turf ratio, not necessarily the sunflowers, you have to measure the turf to get your measurement. I explained just what I just said before. I drilled a 3-inch hole, spaced them out. So obviously, do the math, there's plenty of green turf every around one of these sunflowers. So I said, and she's like, oh, okay, well, I'll run that by him. And I'm like, all right, we're good. A month goes by, and then I get another letter. So now I'm a little like perturbed. I'm like, so I called up. I'm like, hey, Julie Powers, City of St. Peter. I'm like, what's going on here? Did you talk to the horticultural expert? And she's like, yeah, I talked to him, and yeah, you're great. You're above the ratio. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I was like, how did you measure this? Are you using Common Core math here? Because basically, it's just like laying out carpet in a room. How much square feet of there? You can take the 3-inch holes and literally subtract that from the turf. I'm way below the 50% ratio. That didn't matter to him. It didn't matter that I could literally give the numbers to prove that I wasn't even breaking their law. So as they proceed to keep going after me to set up court dates for this, which I couldn't believe, I literally had just reached out to Fox 2 with Elliot Davis and told him the story, and he was like, are you kidding me? This is like crazy. I've never heard anything like this. I said, tell me about it. So he got involved and came over and saw it and immediately went to my neighbors, literally to the city of St. Peter's, and stuck a microphone in their face. And their response was, well, we reached out to Mr. Bank and we never heard from him, which I was shocked to hear that at all. So they said that their hands were tied and they're just trying to follow the ordinance, and we're just going to pursue it. I literally went to the court, set up a trial date for the next month. As I went to trial in St. Peter's for the very first year, this is where it's going to get kind of crazy. You're not going to believe this. I go to the first year, they drop the charges. And Elliot Davis interviewed the prosecuting attorney, and he even flat out asked her, "Are you going to bring charges again to Mr. Bank next year?" And they said, "Well, we're just following the law. We don't know." And I told Elliot Davis, I said, "They're up to something. That doesn't make any sense. They just dropped the charges. I would like to have gone through this and get an actual answer." So that was considered a win. And I told Elliot Davis, "Well, let's just see what happens year number 2. So year number 2 rolls around. I do the same thing, except this time my HOA board member kept driving around and waited until I put my first sunflower in the ground so they could actually literally start the paperwork again. Now, mind you, when people keep thinking, well, is there always that one person that complained or, just doesn't like sunflowers or something like that? Actually, no, not one. And I'm going to say normal person here, because I mean a normal resident that's not tied to an HOA or tied to the city of St. Peters. That to me is normal. They couldn't even get one normal person to file a complaint. So the first year and now the second year, both were my HOA members. They couldn't even find a regular person to complain about my sunflowers. None of my neighbors would, because they actually enjoyed coming down and seeing them. So as I went to the year number 2, they fast-paced everything, and there was no warnings. They set up a court date. They set up trial. Elliot Davis says, "You're going to go through this trial." They said, "Yeah, we're doing that." So I go into the trial, and I got my numbers showing that I'm below the 50% turf ratio. And this is the best part. The prosecuting attorney whips out the ordinance again, flips it around to me and says, "Well, Mr. Bank, as you can see here, over the wintertime, we modified the ordinance to the 50% ratio. Is we don't have to give you a report. We don't have to measure. It's up to our interpretation." And I was like, "What?" So it's up to your interpretation to see if I'm actually breaking the law or the ordinance. Okay, well, that's all right. Let's go through this procedure here. Your Honor, look, I got proof here. I got numbers. The city's telling you it looks like Mr. Bank is, I'm breaking the ordinance. Here, Your Honor, I got the measurements. Look, see how I'm below the 50%? I got measurements. You can see I'm way below this 50% ratio here. And he literally looked at me and said, "Do you have anything else to show?" And I'm like, "Well, what else do I need?" The city says it looks like it. They're supposed to actually prove it. And I'm doing the opposite for you. I'm proving that I'm not. So I don't know what else I need to prove. As soon as he said, "You don't have nothing else?" I said, "Nope." And he just slammed the judge gavel down and said, "I find for the city has proven their burden that you are in violation of the ordinance." and I said, "Well, I guess I didn't stand much of a chance with the city of St. Peters, the city of, prosecuting attorney, a city of St. Peters judge, and the city of St. Peters courtroom against the city of St. Peters." So, of course, I appealed. The appeals process went into the following year, actually, because the city of St. Peters kept asking for continuances because they needed more time for the appeals court, which I was ready to go full boat right there with a jury, of course. So I figured if a jury says I'm in violation, I will never grow a sunflower again. If my peers say I'm in violation, but I had a feeling that once they hear this, or they already have heard of this, they're going to be, "Why am I even here?" So as time went on, the third year rolled around, and they tried to send me another letter. And I said, "Well, we're in appeals court. Do you really want to push this again when you haven't even, resolved this case that's already going on?" So they had left me alone the third year. During the third year, as we're waiting for the jury trial to happen, I had a person come and cut up 40 to 50 of my sunflowers. That's also was on Channel 5 News there. I had videos that she pulled up, started cutting the sunflowers, ripping out of the ground with scissors, destroyed about 1/3 of my front yard. So, of course, I filed a police report, called the police, showed them the video. They had the video. They found out who it was. They brought her in. She confessed to it. I gave them the receipts. Oh, it's over $750 of property damage. Okay, it's a felony. Pretty much a slam dunk case. They never prosecuted her. And their words were, "It's prosecutorial discretion." And I'm like, okay, so here you're coming after me for a sunflower ordinance violation that you keep modifying until something sticks. yet you let the person with a felony walk away because I guess she destroyed my sunflower, so it did you a favor. I mean, there's no other explanation you can come up with to allow somebody a felony to walk away and give no compensation for it, no punishment, when you have video evidence and a known confession. So that being said, I thought this is just amazing. I'm like, I can't believe they're so. I thought they would throw the book at her so that way they could say, well, we're just following the law like they always say. And somebody prosecutes his flowers, we'll purchase flowers, we'll have to prosecute. But they flat out didn't even bother to hide it. So as the jury trial gets underway, we're ready to start the jury trial. This time they didn't drop the charges, they withdrew them. And it was a Latin term, and I'm not familiar with it. It's a Latin term, but it basically means to withdraw the charges to be allowed to recharge you at another date. So obviously I knew what I could see something else was going to happen here the following year to where we're at to this year. So in this year, I start planting sunflowers. I have literally 8 of them in the ground, and I get a letter saying, now we've changed the ordinance to where it's 10% sunflower ratio because we deem sunflowers a crop. And since crops are only allowed 10%, you're over that ratio already, which I only had 8 plants in the ground to begin with, but you kind of already started the process a little early to charge me. But okay, so now they've changed the ordinance because the other ones weren't good enough to prosecute me, that we're going to call sunflowers a crop, and since it's 10% above that, you're way above that violation, so you can't grow a crop in your front yard. So I was like, well, I'll just wait till we go to the same process, and we're going to do this all over like Groundhog Day. So I go in, and they're like, as you can see, Mr. Banks, last year we changed the ordinance, and I'm like, again, to sunflowers are crop, and as you can see here, you can't, plant a crop in your front yard, just like you couldn't do corn in your front yard. And I said, true. And I said, but if you're trying to say sunflowers and corn are a crop, it could be. I said, but the difference is a crop to me is planting, and the other half is harvesting for either consumption, for sale, or for personal use of any kind of those categories. That's what a farmer would do. I grew up around farmers. Well, guess what? I don't save one of these seeds. I let the birds have them and Mother Nature have them, and I take them out one by one, so you can't even tell sunflowers are in my ground, just like the last previous 3 years. So it's not a crop. It can be a crop, but I'm not using it as a crop. So I'm not breaking your new ordinance because I'm not harvesting and consuming or selling my seeds on the agricultural market. So again, I'm not breaking your new ordinance because I'm not doing that. And I said, how many people will plant corn and then just not harvest it? Not take it in. That would be a crop. Just like, wild, clover that grows all over the place, that would be considered a crop then. But if people aren't harvesting it and they're cutting it with the lawnmowers, it wouldn't be a problem. So as I brought that evidence up to the city of St. Peters, that didn't seem to matter either. So then I asked them about the turf ratio to my sunflowers, and they said, oh, all that area in between the sunflowers, that's not turf. That's considered planting area. So that's part of the sunflowers. And I said, well, then I'm really confused because what am I cutting then to maintain the turf ratio? Because it's not my sunflowers. I am literally cutting and weeding by hand the grass around it. So if you're calling that, you may call it whatever you want to call it, but a fact's a fact. That's grass and I'm trimming. It's not, whatever you guys want to call it or whatever that case may be. So realistically, I'm not breaking the law again because it's not a crop. Sunflower seeds can be a crop, but I'm not using it as a crop. So again, guess what? Judge, nope, doesn't matter. Fines to the city again. Go figure. So now we're in the appeals process, which will be December 17th. And we'll start the appeals process where hopefully this time we can actually go through the entire appeals process and they won't drop the charges, or they may do it again and just keep drilling at me over and over. And Channel 2 had asked them this year, how many other people have been, affected by this new ordinance? How many other people have you prosecuted or went after? And they couldn't. They said they don't have those numbers in front, and they'll get back to them, and they never did. So obviously, it's just one person and me. So here, you have a major city or like city using city funds to literally single me out, and to get the ball rolling this year because they didn't have anybody they could complain against the sunflowers. A city alderman had to start the complaint. So I don't know how much more I can keep proving that the city is literally coming after me and just spending tax dollar money after me. Why I have to physically defend myself for doing the same thing over and over again, why they mix it up and just keep coming after me. So this is what I've been living with the last 4.5 years here. And it's been draining mentally and I'm just floored. I mean, I don't have answers. I can't understand how, or I don't know what it's going to take for the city to stop. But I can't believe that they're allowed to do this and get away with it. And I'm just dumbfounded. I really am. I have no answers. And I know probably people are listening to this and they got to be shocked because I have nothing I could give for a response to this. But other than, you tell somebody in power no and you're right, they don't seem to like that too much. So they're going to do what they can to do what they're doing right now. So, and here's where we're at. How about that?
Brandon, go ahead.
I mean, it's a terrible railroading situation where they picked a vendetta against you and they just won't let it go. And
no,
I mean, I guess I just want to, so this is not an HOA specific rule that has gone to city court. This is an actual city ordinance that the city council votes and changes on every. Okay. Is there any?
Correct, yes.
So have you been to a city council meeting and brought any of this? Like, have you tried to get attention at the city level, like from the community to like push back against these city council members that are doing this to you?
Well, I've been this time. I figured enough people on the news from Channel 2 to Google to the local papers to. I just did an interview twice now. This is the second time for the people in the United Kingdom for the Daily UK Mail, because obviously this is crazy for, they think, how about Americans? Look at this, So it's crazy. You can go to the United Kingdom and read this and they're just like laughing about this. They can't believe this is even happening. And I'm trying to bring more attention to higher ups. One person who's really familiar with that, and you'll talk to him next week, is Tony Lavasco. He was on my side from day one on this, up to the very end. He wasn't in office anymore, but he was a good supporter and he did a lot of help for me on this in the beginning. So it's good to see that he's back in to running here next term there. I heard so, but I want the higher ups people. I want the governor of Missouri to hear this. I want people across the nation to hear this. And I'm getting some support from all over. From Ohio to New York and stuff like that, they hear it. But I honestly, I don't know what to do because it seems like, and I don't know the reasoning why, I can't sue the city for this. Even though it's not like this is the first time. This is multiple times, and you can see the multiple. They're not trying to hide anything. I just can't believe this is allowed to happen with no consequences from who's doing this, and I don't know how to make it stop, other than move. And I don't want to be forced out of my house. And again, I don't know what happens if my house catches on fire. They can let it burn to the ground. They won't prosecute people. So I'm like, other than, literally selling my house and moving and paying a lot higher interest than I'm locked in, 20 years ago, which is just absolutely insane. No one wants to be forced out of their house, just because they can make up new ordinances. If they can make up ordinances like that at random on their own, who's to say that, by the way, Mr. Mank, you drive a green 4Runner. We made up a new ordinance that no green 4Runners are allowed on your city street anymore. They can just keep making new ones up. It's just, I can't believe that this is even happening, and it's still allowed to be happening. That maybe the governor, or I know the mayor could probably get involved. He knows what's going on. The fact that he doesn't get involved, well, I mean, he could put a stop to it, but doesn't. So again, you have to ask yourself why. What is the connections into the governments when you start, doing those, government corruption stuff? This looks pretty, textbook government corruption. I mean, this is you can't come up with a plausible or beneficial reason why you're doing this. You can kind of see straight through it and see, you're just abuse of power here. Wasteful tax dollar money because it's not your money you're spending. So you can use the city's, resources as a weapon. You can wield as a weapon and single people out. And for that to me to be allowed, and over and over again, I don't know how to make it stop. I really don't.
So, question from one of the people in the live chat here. Excuse me. Tom Martz is kind of our Missouri Constitution guy. And he's asking if St. Peter's is a charter city or not, or it's an incorporated city, right? Not a charter city.
That I'm not sure. I want to say it's unincorporated, but then again, I thought I saw some of their placards that said charter, but I could be wrong on that. So I'm not sure.
Okay, because I just try to do like a general Google search, because if they are not a charter city, it could play into your to your benefit. Let's see, and I'm just looking to see. I'm trying to find what cities in Missouri are chartered, and that's counties. It doesn't say cities, you ding dong. But anyway, like I said, I know I've given you Tom's contact info. So if you do find out one way or another, if they're not a charter city, I would hope now, based on how the judge is acting in these previous cases, I don't hold a lot of faith, but you might have some state constitutional grounds to stand on, or something to bring forward to say this is clearly a violation of multiple things. I do find it awful funny how a city's like, well, you can't grow X amount. You can't grow over so much corn in your yard. Like, what difference, what difference does it make if I'm selling it or if I'm eating it, for my family, or if we're making, I'm growing it for my family to eat? What difference does it make if I'm growing corn or green beans or whatever in my yard? If I'm not actively taking the stalks and chucking them out into public property, who freaking cares? This kind of stuff blows my mind. Now, I thought I read, now correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I read you kind of started doing this around the time that COVID got nuts, just to kind of help brighten people's day. Is that right?
Yeah, that was one of the other things I had come up with, because that was in 2000, and I was going through a tough time as well as COVID was going on. So again, you really couldn't go anywhere, and that's why I was like, okay, I think I can make this work. When I was like, or it could be a complete failure. This was all winging this for the first time, trying to get all these sunflowers to open up at the same time. And I didn't know if like half of them wouldn't grow, that kind of a thing like that. So I was literally working any spare time I had out in the yard from dusk till dawn. And yeah, exactly. And when they were growing up, people were walking around and seeing my local neighbors. When it aired on the news is when a lot of people were coming from all over the place. I even had one couple call me up and said, "Hey, we saw your sunflowers because you started a little bit later than like the normal ones bloom down in St. Charles Bottoms, and we would like to." This might sound crazy, but we got married 3 weeks ago, and there was a huge storm, and it wiped all the sunflowers. We were supposed to do our pictures and our sunflowers and our wedding, and we couldn't do that. And there's not really any sunflowers left except for your yard. We saw on the news. Would it be crazy if we came in our wedding dress and tuxedo and came and did like pictures of your sunflowers and kind of redid them? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, go right ahead. So yeah, I had people like really doing all kinds of stuff and just enjoying it. And I didn't know it would turn out as beautiful as it did with the multiple colors of sunflowers. I mean, and they all just vibrantly grew and came out great. And the best thing is this isn't permanent. This is not like a structure I built in my front yard or a giant statue. Nothing's permanent. This is gone by now at this time of year, and you can never tell there was a sunflower in my front yard. There's no evidence of one sunflower in my front yard when you look at it now. So again, to me, it's no different than putting up Christmas, decorations for 2 or 3 months, for however how long, and then you take them back down. So none of this is permanent. Like even right now, I wonder if I could, and I would love to make this point, get one of those solar powered sunflower lights, but every spot where I had a real sunflower, put one in my front yard like that everywhere. And I'd be like, but is that illegal? Because I mean, literally I could take them out just like I could with my normal sunflowers. So I could leave them there for 2 or 3 months. And I bet that would be okay unless you're going to make an ordinance for that, So
we should start, Brandon and I should start some kind of fund or we just, we make this movement to where we get a bunch of people to just buy one sunflower solar light and ship them all to your house. And then you can go around and place them and see what happens. Cause I would almost, the way they're acting now, basically every year changing the ordinance, I would almost bet they would see this as like, oh, this guy's like, he's spitting back at us a little bit. He's making fun of us. So I would almost bet you dollars of donuts. They would literally create an ordinance to come at you again because you had too many lights in your yard. I mean,
right. Which
creating a public nuisance.
I would love that. I mean, like, and really, so, but down the street where the guy's got, National Lampoon's, Christmas vacation lights all over, that's okay, So exactly, to make a point that these sunflowers would take, place of the real sunflowers. They're temporary, just like my other ones were. And yet I can remove them just like a normal sunflower. Nothing's different except one's real and one's not. And you're still going to hit me with an ordinance, or you're going to make a new ordinance for it, just like that. You're absolutely right. I would love to see that.
If it, it sucks that taxpayer money has to, all these people in St. Peter's are paying these taxes and it's going to general revenue funds and to the city of St. Peter's. And some of that money at some point is being spent on paying these aldermen and whoever else, people in zoning and planning and everything else, wasting salaries on creating an ordinance and where no one's getting hurt here. No one, right. It's not like like you had a windstorm and somebody was walking up the street and a random seed blew out of the sunflower and hit him in the eye and caused eye damage. None of that stuff's going on. You're just growing some flowers in your yard. Oh yeah. Tom March says, make sure to add some pink flamingos too. That'll probably really get their goat there.
I would definitely do that. Absolutely.
Those things are not easy to find anymore. Brandon, you got something else, brother?
Yeah, I looked it up online, and the Board of Aldermen and the mayor meet on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month, except June, July, November, and December. I'm guessing for Thanksgiving or things. So I'm saying we need to get a Facebook group together, or if there's already one in support of your cause, we need to let them know when these Board of Aldermen meetings are for the city of St. Peter's. And I would be happy to come down there and speak on your behalf on how just absolutely crazy this is. Because like you guys were just saying, it's not unsightly. It doesn't smell. The reason you would have like farming rules for cities is because it might mess up irrigation or, some sort of like environmental impact, but there's none here.
Correct.
So it's absolutely ridiculous. It's unconstitutional. It's against the founding principles of individualism. And again, like I said, I think we need to take this to the city council. And if nothing else, get as many people who are seen this story on the news or somewhere else that just think this is as ridiculous as we all do. And we need to go down to city council and tell them how ridiculous this is, because this is where it seems to be stemming from. And I think if they were genuinely afraid that most of the people in St. Peter's were against this, maybe they would back down.
You know, and to add to this too, you know, anytime you have laws or you always hear about defunding the police, right? Some of these big cities defund the police. It's like, okay, I get sometimes I get that you have an issue with the way police are enforcing or doing certain things. Okay. I'm with you on some occasion. The problem is they don't ever look at the city council, right? These are the people who are creating these laws and some of the dumbest laws in the town, and the police are enforcing them. Should they be? Probably not, but that's for another day. But the finger never gets pointed at these elected officials who are making up these stupid ordinances that some people are more than happy just to be the jerk on the block and enforce everything because it gives them some sense of power over other people. They want to lord over others for whatever reason. They're miserable people and they want you just to be as miserable as they are. But this is an argument that we keep making here. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. You get frustrated because the police are getting you because your grass is too tall. That doesn't come, the police force and the chief of police or the city marshal is not creating those ordinances. That's a city attorney. That's the alderman. They're all getting together in some war room somewhere. I don't know. They're probably got war paint on, or I don't know what they're doing. Acting crazy, acting a fool, and then creating these things. And then if you have the audacity to fight them in court and come back at them with facts, they're like, oh, we'll get his goat. We'll just change the rules and we'll keep changing them. And, you know, it's a sad fact, but we've seen plenty of news from across the country where some somewhat seemingly rogue city aldermen or mayors will just go to war with somebody, and it's until it just financially screws them up and they just give up. Because the city has normally financially has way more resources than this one person. So they're like, we'll just keep changing the rules of the game. If this guy keeps wanting to go to court, we'll just break him and then he'll finally cave. Instead of saying, hey guys, maybe we should reconsider this really stupid law that we made up. No, let's just financially ruin the guy, or we'll smear his name, or whatever we have to do. So he just complies like everybody else. And this is what Brandon was speaking to a minute ago. This is where a lot of people who are in agreement with you, Chris, need to show up en masse at a city council meeting and go, hey, we'd like for you all to take a field sobriety test because we feel you've been drinking on a job, writing stuff like this up. So I don't know. It's got to be disheartening. I know it's disheartening.
It really is. And it's just like, again, and bottom line is, yeah, taxpayer dollars. And I'm like, I'm really paying taxes to fight myself. Like, seriously. And I'm like, how bizarre is that? Right. I'm like, and people had said that before, like, why don't you just give up? And I said that it's because it's the right thing to do. The right thing is to do is like, yeah, if I give up, and then where do they draw the line? They'll just keep coming after me, and then they'll say, well, you gave in last time, Chris. So if you gave in that person, you gave up and basically admitted, and by giving up that we were right, then it'll never stop. And the whole point of it is it's wrong, and they know it's wrong, and everybody, can clearly see that it's wrong. So between right and wrong, you should be doing what's right and wrong. And it blows my mind. I guess in politics, that'll never change, but it seems like, it's just the way it is, I guess.
And just another thing to emphasize here too is it's not just about it. I mean, it's not just about Chris's flowers. It's Chris's flowers today, but it's John's tulips tomorrow. It's my lawn ornament on Friday. You know what I'm saying? It's not. Mm-hmm. It gives this city government the thought that they can just decree whatever, and if you back down, then everyone else is going to see this example and go, oh man, I guess they can just beat people down and other people won't fight back as well. So it's important to, for everyone to see this story and get involved. Like the email addresses for all of the city alderman people are all on the stpetersmo.net website, stpetersmo.net. I'm looking at it right now. So if you're at home and you live in the city of St. Peters, or if you don't and just think that this is stupid and like sunflowers, email these people right now and tell them they're being ridiculous.
and other words.
Yeah.
I mean, no, don't curse at them. I'm just saying. Get creative.
You're right.
I love those people like oh my God, why can't I think of his name? The guy that created the "You Are the Power."
Spike Cohen.
Spike Cohen. They have a T-shirt that says "Cyberbully your government," and I love that. I think maybe it's time, not full on. Don't call them weird names. Just, I don't know, a little slight form of cyberbullying these people. Because folks, we've seen it. We have seen it at the state level. You get enough emails and phone calls coming in, enough to where it starts making them uncomfortable, because these people get too comfortable. They're like, yeah, we got a couple of people who are complaining and moaning, but it'll die down. But if you get hundreds of people emailing and phone calling, heck, we had one gal that was faxing everybody, just sending faxes, like going old school. And just,
Wow.
just load up their voicemail, load up everything. Gary Reidenauer says he'll be there. I mean, yeah, let's make an effort. Let's load up St. Peter's City Council meeting and just say, and they're like, why are you here? What are you all here to speak on? Oh, your stupid law. I mean, you probably can't say that because someone's going to get butthurt and like, well, you can't speak. You said stupid in a city meeting, but you get my drift. Brandon and I cover a lot of dumb ordinances and laws and rules all the time. This one kind of takes the cake though, because
right.
it's just flowers. It's like they're treating you like you're treating you like somehow you figured out how to convert sunflower seeds to methamphetamine. And they're like, we got to get this guy. It's like, no, I'm just growing sunflowers, man. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, that's it.
And not even that it's justified or right or principled, but it's not even like one of your neighbors came to you and they were like, hey, Chris, we're getting ready to put our house on the market. And we think your giants, we think the sunflowers might be costing us. But like you said, they're not getting your neighbors. They have to find homeowners association members, people with authority who just want to flex their power, because it's not like anyone around you is bothered by this. And so they're gonna, if they even try to stand on city ordinance principles off of some obscure property value thing, that's not even the case here, and hopefully they don't even try that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at a loss for words, Chris.
Again,
we cover stupid stuff like this all the time, but again, I think I want to say 3 times. I've seen 3 different articles at least. Sometimes it'll just pop up like a year later, another story will pop up, and I'll cover it again. And I tell the audience, I can't believe they're still pushing this. And we would cover the absurdity of the sunflower to turf ratio. And we just made fun of it the whole time because it seems like something you would do on a drunken dare. Like, hey, Bob, I bet you can't make up a really stupid rule. Oh, yeah? Well, I saw this guy with sunflowers, and let's make up a ratio. And then we'll call it, if that doesn't work, we'll call it a crop.
It's right. I'm like, you literally withdrew the charges, so you go in there and say, now we'll call it a crop. Now it's 10%. So we look pretty bad by saying it's up to our interpretation, Because I had literally asked them that when I found that out in that day in trial. I said, oh, are you going to do that for speeding tickets too?
Okay, Tom says St. Peter's, Missouri is not a charter city in the sense of being governed under a special charter granted by the state for unique autonomy. So I'm thinking, if I'm in alignment with Tom here, that you have some possible constitutional principles to bring forward. And again, Tom's our resident expert here. But maybe, okay, like I said, if you feel like getting in touch with him, Tom will be more than happy to help guide you through this. But I do have to ask, is St. Charles County, have the county commissioners Has anybody asked them their thoughts about what St. Peter's is doing as far as this dumb ordinance?
As far as I know, no, actually, not that I'm aware of, because it hasn't. Like, it was supposed to go to St. Charles County, county court, the big court here, for the appeals, and then that's when they had pulled out. So this thing should have been rectified already last time, but I guess they wanted to regroup and make it harder instead of just this interpretation, because they knew that. I'm assuming that that's how bad it looked on them. So let's go in there and change it to a crop, and 10%, and then now it's like, with 10%, look, he's got to be way over 10% just by looking at it, So again, and I had even brought that up in this trial. I said, so did you change the ordinance again last year from this year? And she's like, I object that it's no relevance since we withdrew the charges last time. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I'm like, okay, I might already see where this is going. I said, the only thing we're missing is clown music, So I'm like, we'll finish out the circus, and I'm like, come on, let's just get this over with so I can move on to an actual real court.
Oh, you should, it'd be really great to find some giant canopy to put like in front of your house or on the side, but paint it red and white, like the big tent circuses that used to come to towns years ago. And they're like, what are you doing, sir? Like, well, this whole thing's turned into a circus. So I figured at least I could charge admission and make money to help me with my attorney's fees or whatever. You guys are bleeding me dry. So I figured I'd make some money off this circus that we're all performing in here and help me pay some of my legal fees. So what are the fines like that they want to impose when you violate this really dumb rule?
It's not. It's not that much. It was like about $300 or something like that. Which, some people is a lot, but to me, it wasn't that much. Obviously, I'm spending more time and money fighting it, but it was just like, it's like if I didn't add, a percentage of my bill and pay this extra, and somebody says, well, why fight it? Just let them take it. It's the whole point. It's the whole point of like, I'm not breaking this ordinance. No matter how you keep changing it, I'm not. So the fact that you keep doing this is just like, it just blows my mind. I'm not breaking it, but yet you're going to punish me that I am. And I'm like, what? This is like, it's about right and wrong when it comes down to, and if I don't stand up now, then I'll never be able to get that back. So that's why I've done it from day one, and I haven't stopped, because until I feel like I can get some kind of balance or justice of enough people or enough big celebrities out there hear about this and think this is ridiculous and they like sunflowers, maybe that would help too. But just anything about this that would just be helping and not be intimidated or have connection to the city of St. Peter's, and just do what's right and finish this and just tell them to leave me alone. That's basically all I ever wanted.
Yeah, I think it would also be great. There's no way we could pull it off. I think it'd be great if we could get every neighbor around you, on either side, behind you, in front of you, whatever. Just everybody start growing sunflowers in their yard. And just like it just spreads like wildfire, and just watch their heads explode. Because what better way to just show a little civil disobedience than everybody go, oh, you're going to be petty? All right, well, we can be petty too. And everybody just starts, I don't care if they're in big planter boxes or whatever, but everybody just starts growing sunflowers in there. I think that would be a fantastic show of force. And just, and they start complaining like, listen, you can't, you're going to break the city trying to take all of us to court, but feel free. Let's go, baby. Let's go. But I don't know. It would be great to see something like that. That's a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing that. I get it. A lot of people are like, I don't want to pay a $300 fine. I don't want to sit here and fight the city. Chris, I know it sucks. It really sucks to see what you're going through, but I'm also really happy to see that you haven't just said, all right. And then the next year you don't grow sunflowers. I'm glad that you're still fighting this. I'm glad that you're still battling against these nitwits that I like Gary said in the comments. St. Peter's is a pretty big area, and they don't have anything better to take care of than sunflowers and turf ratios, or now it's a crop thing, 10%. They don't have anything better to do. I mean, honestly,
Right.
it's like if you guys are bored, we can find you something to do. I bet there's some lawns out here to cut, some leaves to rake. You could repaint the buildings. You guys could do something. But picking on me about
Absolutely.
flowers? Wow. I don't know, man. You know what? Also, kudos to you. Because if somebody was doing this to me, I don't know how well I could hold it together. I don't know how civilized, and I'm within all honesty, like for a little while, I might be like, all right, we'll be civil. But after like the third or fourth time, I mean, I'm liable to drop more F-bombs in the Air Force. I don't know how I could stay civilized this long without losing my mind on somebody, because it's, again, the ridiculousness of it, the pettiness, the pure unadulterated pettiness of people. Again, if there was some environmental thing going on and you were poisoning the city water and other people were chiming, okay, cool. Now you've got grounds, like you literally could cause harm to the surrounding neighborhood. And I could see them saying, we have to fight this, so we're going to change some things to get this under control. But just it's like, oh, this guy's calling her bluff, so let's just make it harder. Another live stream viewer here says, have you considered asking for a license to grow rather than paying fines? But then again, it's like, okay, but on the other hand, it's like, now I have to, it's kind of silly. Now I have to have a license to grow sunflowers. Like, that also seems absurd. I know what he's getting at.
Yeah, I get it too. But I have a hard time believing I would even get approved,
Yeah, at this point, I think you've ruined your chances.
If they won't even prosecute someone who commits a felony on your front lawn, I don't think they're going to approve you on the sunflower.
Yeah, which is,
if we're talking about the same city, then no.
That is bananas to think about it, right? So you've had your property rights violated in two different ways. You have a city government telling you a ratio of what you can grow in your yard. The very yard that you mow, that you supposedly own and pay taxes on, property taxes and whatever else. And then for someone to come along and damage those things, and the prosecutor says, it's my discretion. If that's not a clear case of, we don't like this guy and we're going to torment him until he does what we say, is just, and here's another example real quick. So I heard you say earlier that you found out you can't sue the city. Is that what you said?
Well, I mean, I don't know that for sure, but it seems like I would think that I would have lawyers jumping at the case here. And again, I would even understand that if this was the first go around, they're like, hey, I'm going to sue you because of the way you're treating me like this. But after all these things put together, and especially when I found out that you didn't prosecute her because of that discretion, I would thought you want to throw the book at her so you can say, hey, look, we're supporting, the law like we say we are, because we're prosecuting the same person that destroyed the sunflowers that we don't like, but they're not even doing that. They're literally like, yeah, we're not going to do that, but yeah, we'll, throw the book at you and let a felony walk away. I got no compensation financially or even justice from that. And you let her walk away from I don't understand it. It's not a he said, she said thing. You got video. You brought her in. She confessed. I mean, that's what I couldn't understand. I'm like, okay, we're good. And, then there's like nothing. So I almost like, you know what? After this year, before this year started, I'm like, when I found that out and you still hadn't prosecuted me, you still ignored my phone calls and you wouldn't respond back. When I kept asking what's going on. And then I'm like, you know what? If they don't prosecute her, fine. At least they'll leave me alone now. There's no way they're going to come back after this year after they didn't do nothing to her. And hold my beer, I was wrong. He came back with a crop, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I thought, since you didn't do nothing to her, then you're just going to leave it alone and drop it. And you know what? I'll take that. I'll let that go just so I can have you guys off my back. But instead, no, you did the opposite, and you went and harder at me this time and leaving the felony walk. And I'm like, that, right, to me, those things together, after all put in a nutshell, I don't know what else I need to prove that you are singling me out. And I think, to me, the only way a big city or a big business or city ever learns is when they financially have to pay out the wazoo so they don't do it again. And I don't want to be like that, but I mean, that's the only thing I can see that'll make them stop.
And that's what I was going to get at, but not, and again, this is not me making this decision. This is your livelihood. This is your property. But me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just sue each individual member of the board for violating property rights and seemingly harassing me by choosing to continually change the rules so that you're on the winning side. And even if you just have to but here's the question. All right. If you sue the individuals who are perpetrating, this is a crime. This violates your natural property rights. Okay. In my opinion. I wonder if they have insurance to cover their butts in case they're sued personally, or if they would actually have to take the financial hit. Because I'm not going to lie, I would personally enjoy it to hear that every single one of them had to go out and retain an attorney because they're scared to death they're going to take a financial hit. And in my opinion, they actually should take a big financial hit if this is the kind of games they're going to play. Again, and the main thing is letting a felony offense slide. So, I mean, to me, it's like, all right, I'm taking the prosecutor to court, and any of these schmucks on the city council that decide they want to, screw around and find out, radio friendly version there. And, and just make their buttholes pucker just a little bit. I love to see a politician's butthole pucker when they think they're gonna lose some money. That's kind of funny to watch them squirm. Brandon, I know you're chomping.
Oh, I just have a couple of things. Have you has anybody who's seen your story online or anybody reached out with any legal advice, or is anybody on not on how to get back at the city, but just as far as defense here? Has anybody reached out to you and given you any legal advice on it?
At this point, this time around, no. And I was kind of shocked. I was hoping somebody would, because I've shelled enough of my own money, and I had help in the year before, and I had brought up to that same. And I have to forgive me. I don't know the name of the lawyers. He reached out for me, and he was helping me through this last term one. And I reached out again to him, and I said, "Hey, we're back at this." And he said something like, well, this time they didn't modify the ordinance. They completely changed it. So we have to check to see if we can even, help you out this time. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it's clearly, the same situation. Just, if it's some kind of legal mumbo jumbo here that's changing versus, a new ordinance, I'm like, I'm shocked, but okay. But I mean, I was hoping a lawyer or somebody higher up, celebrity or somebody that's got lawyers on speed dial, and be like, hey, I want this guy some help. Let's do this and squash the city or something like that, or go in there and do this, because I literally think if this really got down in front of a jury, literally, like I'm going to do anyway for my appeals, I really like my odds against the normal people here in St. Charles. So, I'm willing to go there. I would love a lawyer of some kind to reach out and say, hey, you know what? There's something we can work with on here. And if you can sue the city or sue these individuals, just like a personal injury, you take 50% of what you get. I'm good with that. So if something for something like that or whatever, just the fact that it's killing me and it's beating me down, but again, I just feel like I can't give up one way or the other. So it's otherwise, you're going to let BS win when it shouldn't. So,
Yeah, this is one of those, like, almost a call to action. You know, if someone who's really good with law is out there listening to this, hears this at any point, and you reach out to me, you put something that you comment on the video, whatever, we'll get you in touch with Chris. I don't care at this point. I want the individuals responsible to pay. I don't want taxpayers having to fund the salaries of these people to make the stupid rules and then turn around and the taxpayers to also have to pay out a settlement on, because if they don't pay personally, they will not stop.
right.
You know,
You're right.
they can just tax you more and recoup the money. It doesn't matter to them. It's not their money. If they don't pay personally, this stuff, it's in this case and multiple other cases across the state of Missouri and all across the country. You see people go to prison, wrongfully in prison. You know, police or prosecutors going above and beyond just to bust somebody to close the case. And they, you know, and the guy gets out, thank goodness, and he goes and sues the police department or he sues the city or whatever. And it's like, okay, but none of those cops, that prosecutor, the police, the judges, no one pays a financial hit. So did they really learn their lesson? No, they might figure out a way to be sneakier next time. But if they don't take a personal financial blow, I just don't see what good it does. I understand it's easier for attorneys to to sue the city because they know there's an insurance policy there and that insurance company is going to pay a settlement out. So that's easy money. And a lot of times it's a pretty sizable settlement. But at the end of the day, the people who personally are responsible for committing these acts just seemingly get off scot-free. And that's just the worst part of it. And Tom says they have not been granted any authority to be a home rule city. Therefore, they lack the authority of the people to create ordinances, which is, I'm going to believe Tom on this because Tom's done his research. But so, I mean, you've gone through all this, Chris, and I know you'd like some help from people. Do you have any other plans or any other way things you've thought of to fight this? Anything else?
Well, with the exception of just going to the jury and letting it get into a jury's hands, and you know, at the very end of it, my only resource was my only crazy backup plan was to reach out to Elon Musk and be like, "Hey, you remember that government wasteful spending we're kind of bitching about? Look at this. I know you have some funding here you might want to help me out on, but I'm a big space guy too myself, besides the sunflowers. And, you know, take a look at this. Would you like to squash these MFers?" And just like, that was somehow I could reach a hold of him and be like, "Take a look at this and just see what you think." And, you know, but that's basically all I got, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hate this kind of stuff just drives me up a freaking wall. And, you know, anytime something like this happens in your state, and because let's be honest, if this happened in Illinois, it's still dumb, but it wouldn't surprise me as much in Illinois because those people over there are out of their freaking minds, right? They're nuttier than squirrel turds over there. So Missouri, you're like, oh, this, you know, you think, oh, it'll be a little less dumb. No, we've seen it. We do a lot of Missouri news on this show, and we see a lot of dumb stuff. And it's just more irritating because St. Charles County sometimes does really good on some things, right? Some really bad things, but they're better on some other things. They're better than St. Louis County generally. And so it's just one of those things where, we have to figure out how to keep these people from being so bored. So if that is answering phones that are blown up during all operating hours and getting emails into their box where they're A, they're afraid to answer their phone anymore. And B, they don't even want to open their email because it's just constantly people putting them on blast. I don't know. I just want to see. I want to see people like this squirm. I cannot stand to watch a bully in action. And these people are pretty much acting. They're all acting like bullies. This is a bully tactic. And I hate bullies. I hate them with a passion. And nothing makes me happier than when a bully gets their comeuppance, you know? And I certainly hope that we can get enough people interested in this to help you fight back and mount enough public pressure where maybe they back off. But man, sometimes these people, I mean, you can put up a big flashing billboard sign 2 feet in front of their desk and they can't read it. They just ignore it. Like, what's with the big sign? Like, I don't know what sign. I don't see no sign. It's crazy.
It definitely is.
Well, Chris, anything else you want to talk about tonight? I mean, we've had you on here for an hour and 5 minutes, brother. Anything else springing to mind?
No, that's pretty much it. I got it all out there, so I appreciate the time and the opportunity to have me on here and share my story. So thank you so much.
Well, Chris, if we can be of help in any way, we'll try to generate you some help. Let's see if we can get some interest and get some interested parties and helping fight back. And again, I would urge you to contact Tom Martz at some point and have a conversation with him because I think he can point you in the right direction. But if there's anything we can do, don't hesitate to contact me or Brandon for that matter. Also, if anything changes, good or bad, let us know. We'll get you back on a show. Hopefully it's something positive. We'll get you back on a show so we can keep people updated on the circumstances and what you're going through.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Chris, and try and have a great evening.
I will. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. That was Chris Bank. Jesus. Those people all in St. Peter's need Jesus. They you ever heard people, somebody be like, you need Jesus. Those people in St. Peter's, they need Jesus and a whole slew of other casts of saints and stuff to try to straighten them out. But Brandon, your thoughts on, I mean, I know we rattled off a lot, but before
it's not, so it's not, again, it's not that there is, again, I disagree with it on the individualist principle, but there is the concept of that, certain neighborhoods or groups of people or whatever can, again, I don't know if it's right or, whatever, but if you have certain HOA ordinances or city ordinances and someone blatantly violates them, then you can have that discussion. That is not what happened here. What happened is they had an ordinance. He wasn't violating it. So they rewrote the ordinance, and he also, once again, wasn't violating it. And every time he pushed this to the county level, they dropped the case. So finally, they got him on just the right verbiage. They turned it into a crop. Can't have more than 50% of the lawn or 10% of the lawn space. And all of the space in between the sunflowers now counts as sunflower space. So, I mean, they really went out of their way to screw this guy over. And I cannot imagine why. Because like we were saying, he didn't build a waste management system in his front yard. He isn't harboring trash that looks unsightly and smells like someone in the comments said. It's not like he's running a junkyard with a bunch of goats running all over the place. He's got rows, not even growing crazy. He's got rows of sunflowers. I'm sure it looks great. I've seen pictures of it on the news. It looks pretty neat. Again, it just goes down to, like you were saying, they need some Jesus, some of that live and let live in them. Because, again, it's just got to be one bothered city councilman or alderman, and then all of the other aldermen feel the need to rally around them because it's like us versus them, and we have the authority. They need to listen to the authority. And so, yeah, the whole story is just ridiculous on its face. And I really think that, I live in O'Fallon. I think O'Fallon literally touches St. Peter's. So, I mean, if people will come with me, I'll go to one of the city council meetings. We'll get Chris. I'm sure there's probably some don't badmouth the goats. I'm sure there's no I'm sure there might be some sort of like, you might have to be a city resident to speak or this or that, but I'll at least show up in support of Chris and have him speak, and any other St. Peter's resident I know, have them go up there and just give them a piece of our mind. And
You know, it might not be a bad idea to reach out to You Are the Power. They have people in Missouri. And maybe we could get them on the case, because they'll show up and they'll speak at those city council meetings, and they will, I mean, they're all respectful when they speak, but they will, they'll have every fact behind them and they will light them up. So I'm going to try to reach out to them and say, hey, I've got this guy's going through this. Anybody in Missouri that can help, help this guy out, help fight for him. But that just, when I was talking about the cyberbully your government, it just sprang to mind. So I'll get in contact. I'll message Jason Lyon, who's been on a show, and say, can you put me in contact with somebody? Because we got a real stupid case here, and see if maybe they've got some resources they can push that way. Anything we can do to help the guy. Because like I said, this is just, you got stupid and then you got really stupid. And I think this even surpasses really stupid. This is stupid on a monumental level. But anyway,
it's crazy. We've had back-to-back weeks where these local governments in conservative areas are just railroading the average citizen. I mean, last week, we had 2 guys permanently banned from school board meetings for voicing their opinion on pornographic material, and you had school board members running the Chamber of Commerce. You had people working at the school, also the #1 advertiser in the local paper, and it was all coordinated. And now you have officers in the city of St. Peter's not prosecuting felony vandals. You have multiple changes to the school board, or not the school board, to the charter, to change the rules to make this guy take his sunflowers down. So, I mean, yeah, you're never safe from it, and it's why you have to be vigilant in your city. You have to pay attention to these things, and you have to get involved, and you have to push back, or the next time it's going to be you.
Yeah, this really goes to show another prime example in Missouri where, and I don't know what political affiliation, let's see, St. Peter's, Missouri City Hall. I just want to see what their political affiliations
I
are.
would
If
bet
they
99% that the mayor is at least Republican. I would be floored if it was Democrat. There's no way.
I don't know if it's gonna tell me or not. It doesn't say on the website.
Maybe it's nonpartisan.
It might be, but I'm looking at stpetersmo.net just to see if they're, they all look constipated. So they got that typical like politician, big city politician look, constipated. Oh my God. No wonder. Hold on. This is just one. Let's see. Let me pull this screen up real quick, right? Let me full screen this real quick so maybe people can read it. Melissa Raymer so in 2008, Melissa became a licensed Missouri real estate agent. Let's see. She's a member of the National Association of Realtors, the Missouri Association of Realtors, and St. Louis Realtors. All right. I just want to show you that. That's one example of one person on that board. Why did they do that? The Board of Realtors in Missouri, they got some real jerks. They donate a lot of money to campaigns, to Republican campaigns. They don't want to see personal property taxes eliminated. They fight against any sensible piece of legislation, constitutional legislation, that would let you keep more dollars or give you some more property rights. Those people and the Missouri Association of Realtors have no interest in any of that. So that's just one. I'm not saying that's an absolute like slam dunk case, right? But when you have people like that on those boards, the people at the top, they don't like when you talk about getting rid of personal property tax. They don't seem to really be all down with, natural property rights or property rights in general. They're not down with that. So if you have someone like that on a city council as an alderman, it's not a good sign. Not a good sign for you. Now, I'm going to go back and look at some of these other dweebs. Let's see if any of these other cornballs let's see, serves as the group manager of health environmental services and would oversee multiple departments: health department, facility maintenance, fleet services, animal control, solid waste, and recycle city operations. That's not helping your cause. All these big government things. Let's see. Here's Patrick Barclay. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and history. So that's not looking good. Let's see. He completed training offered by the Missouri Municipal League. Real big on ordinance creation and these Brotherhood of Codes, and they get all down and deep. Just write all these codes to keep people in compliance, and you create all these fines and fees. Also, not a good look. Let's see. Nick Trupiani. Oh my God, if I could say it. Trupiano. Let's see. Nope, nothing really there for that douche canoe. I probably shouldn't call these people all these names, but then there's Len Pagano. What's he do? Metro executive board member for Metro Mayors of St. Louis, executive board for Missouri Mayors United. That is also served on Missouri Municipal League Board of Directors. Here comes some more of your stupid ordinances. So these people, now Mr. Reitmeyer here, I don't see he's got too many. Oh, currently serves as aldermanic representative on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Also a big, boy, there's enough information on these people to gag a maggot off a meat wagon. Oh, let's see. Earned the prestigious designation of Advanced Certified Municipal Officer from the Missouri Municipal League's Municipal Governance Institute. So there's the problem. All those Missouri Municipal League people are big in codes and ordinances, and they will make up dumb crap like this, and they probably get help from the Missouri Municipal League on how to change it up just to screw somebody. Yeah, Vincent says, sounds like they're a part of the Mutual Admiration Society. Yes, they admire each other and the power that they can lord over others. I don't know, guys. Can you make I screwed up because I closed the page. I didn't see. Let me go back. Let me go to my history. And let's see. Oh, I got to get back to the staff here. Dang, how they bat poop. Okay. Park, police, city jobs, all that. Where did it go? Darn it. I want to. Where did oh, city government. Here we go. Administration, right? That's got to be it. Hopefully I get it right. Where's the idiot brigade that I just had up? I'm just saying so much crap about these people right now. Well, city government. Yeah. I want to see your board of aldermen. Why? Okay. Oh, here we go. It's right there in big print, stupid. So 3, 6, 9 people. Can you make a canoe for 9 people?
Oh yeah, they have whole rowing teams. Yeah, like
Yeah, and we'll be like, hey, I want it carved. I want it pristine, carved out of wood, very fancy douche canoe that that fits 9 people. We'll give them a big paddle. Each one has their name and just says douche canoe rower on it. And we got all kinds of names. The League of Distinguished Karens. I like that. Yes, you guys on the live chat are on fire tonight, and we greatly appreciate it. You guys are coming up with all kinds of tasty stuff but yeah, if you got a bunch of people in the Missouri Municipal League, you will be astounded by the amount of ordinances and codes and things that they come up with, because they want to be in compliance, right? Owensville had people coming in trying to convince them to take on these certain building codes, where if someone's downspout was out of their gutter, find them right there. People just driving around the city looking for non-compliance on any of these zillion building codes, just driving around writing tickets and getting these fees so that, another way for your city to generate revenue. That's the kind of people that Chris is having to fight with when you have multiple members as a part of that municipal league. That is a horror show. I wish I could remember the name of the gentleman who used to have a show on a network years ago out of Exeter, Missouri. That guy wore the T-shirt on dealing with zoning and codes and everything. That guy was on top of his game. And I don't remember the gentleman's name anymore. Unfortunately, I don't even know if he does a show. I had him on my very first show that I ever did to talk about this stuff. And we had him on there about enhanced enterprise zones and all that. And all this comes out of things like the Missouri Municipal League. Man, I'm going in the way back time machine, folks, on some of my old shows that I did 10 plus years ago. But it was horrifying to hear these people like that gentleman from Exeter. And there was another gal from Idaho or Montana that I also had on with the other guy. And so we had like 3 or 4 people on one show just talking about all these codes and zoning regulations and enhanced enterprise zones and all this stuff, and some of the stuff that comes along with it. And that was horrifying back then. And then you see how big governments have gotten now and the dumb codes and regulations they come with. It just gets worse as time goes on. And then again, as we heard, to be so petty, to sit there and change the rules like 3 freaking times just to get a guy who's done nothing to no one. He hasn't harmed a hair on any single person's head. And I'm sorry, if you walk down a block and a person has a bunch of sunflowers in their yard and you find that offensive, you're not even a human being. You're some alien from some trash planet. And you'd rather see garbage everywhere. I don't know what. Or you got severe OCD, so everything has to be grass. I don't know. You're a whack job, and someone needs to politely tap you on the head and reset. But anyway, Jesus.
No, I'm with you, man. I want to, like I said a minute ago, I think that if we mobbed a city council meeting and we flooded these emails and the phone line at City Hall, they would back off this. I think that might be the only thing to make them back off. And because I do feel bad for Chris, is that like it shouldn't have to get to this, but he's been fighting this alone, and we need to rally the troops for him. We need to get people to show up and support this.
Absolutely. I mean, again, folks, anybody out there that hears this show, stpetersmo.net. Go on. You can find their email addresses of every alderman and the mayor. I'm sure there's phone numbers on there. Start blowing them up. I wish that you could just email them and say, hey, by the way, I just wanted to say, I think you're retarded. And then end it with good day, sir or ma'am. Not that I want to assume anyone's gender, but sometimes you have to call a retard, right? Sometimes you have to. I know you. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just saying if it was up to me and I was just writing emails, I'd call them spazzes, morons, idiots, stupid, dumb, a whole host of words. I'd have to pull out the thesaurus just to find inventive ways to call them stupid or a tyrant, but not flat out tyrant. Another word. But yeah, I think start flooding their email boxes would be a pretty cool thing to do. But again, I'm hoping I'm getting somebody in touch with someone from You Are the Power, bring this to their attention. And maybe, like I said, in some cases, all kinds of different cases, they show up in force and they get all the facts lined up. They do everything. Spike's I'm not saying Spike would show up, but if Spike Cohen was to show up, you want to talk about a roast, Spike Cohen would decimate those people. Every one of them would have to go out and buy a huge tube of Preparation H because they would be butthurt and Spike will do it in the most nicest way possible, but he would absolutely destroy them. But I'll get in touch with them. I don't want to keep repeating myself here, but we've got to do something because I want to curse right now, but I won't. This is freaking horrible. And folks, I know we like to get, it's easy to get tied up in national politics. For some of us, it's really easy to get tied up in state politics. But as Brandon said earlier, 2 weeks in a row, we have people from local government or people dealing with local governments and just having their natural rights smashed into the ground. Not only smashed, they take a steamroller and then they try to pour asphalt over the top of it, so you couldn't even tell there was a natural right there to begin with. And I don't mind covering this because people need to know. But at the same point, it's infuriating. If your blood's not boiling when you hear these people talk, you might want to go make sure you still have a heartbeat.
Well,
you're not living.
But this is the perfect opportunity for I think it's going to take a super drastic effort to solve things at the state level. You know what I mean? It's going to take drastic effort. Like, we might be going to war with Venezuela in a couple weeks, and there might not be a single thing that me and you could possibly do to alter that. Right. We can fix this in a month if enough people show up.
Yes.
Like, you just, if everyone who's listening to this show knows anyone who lives near St. Peter's, like if they just live in the St. Louis area, tell them to follow us, because I'm sure in the next coming days on X and on Facebook, I'll be posting about this and I'll be letting everyone know, like, hey, like, we're getting together, and if we can't go to this meeting, we're going to go to this meeting, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to let the city council know that they cannot do what they're doing. And so, I mean, like, for all the people out there looking to make a real difference in the world, this is your chance right here to really to really push back on government and make your voice heard.
Absolutely. And I've only written one Substack, but I believe I'm going to write a Substack on this topic. Try to type this out in the next day or two. Not a lot of people read it, and I get it, but bring a little more attention. Again, social media post, put it on blast. And let's see if we can't get Chris some help and get these morons to back down. Now, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. Let's just be realistic. Clearly, city aldermen prosecuting attorney, and judges are all pretty buddy-buddy right now because they're all, of course, siding with the city. Why would the judge in that city side against the city, right? It's in their best interest to side with the city because everybody's friendly. They're not doing their jobs. It's not right, but we shouldn't be surprised.
Well, I hate to be that guy to bring this up, but like like with the facts on the ground, there's not much to do legally. Because like if you're a judge of City of St. Peter's and the city council or the board of aldermen has made this rule, like whether we agree with it or not. Now, we all know that the men in black robes in, across this country are not qualified to make rulings on the Constitution. They should be, but they're not, and they continually don't. So you're right in a sense that like any decent judge should be able to look at the merits of the case based on its constitutionality and throw it out. But given the world we live in, what we have is like this, the stem of the crux of this is coming from the city council because everyone else above them, even if it just goes to the county, what the city's going to argue is that they made the ordinance and he's in violation of it. And so the judge in the case, their hands are almost tied. Now, we have jury nullification. So if this does go to a 12-person jury in the county, they can see, well, again, this is another tough one too, because they're going to say that this man, Chris, is violating this particular ordinance. And when Chris tries to bring up that people have violated his rights and like people have vandalized his property and the city didn't prosecute that, in a court of law on that particular case, you can make the argument of irrelevance. And the same thing with all of these other past ordinances. So the jury's not going to get to hear the part where they continually change the ordinance and they don't enforce laws applicable. Like, they don't enforce laws equally in St. Peter's. The jury might not get to hear that. And so like the crux of this is this vindictive board of aldermen. Like that's like, if you're like the rest of this is a symptom, like the bad judges. Yeah, we have bad judges and the jury not hearing all of the evidence. It's because of the bad judge. So I mean, again, I hate to repeat myself here again, but I'm so serious that I think if we want the city to drop this, you have to go to their home and make them feel uncomfortable, not their literal homes. Let me, I guess where the place where they make these terrible decisions, we need to go there, make them feel uncomfortable, make them know that we are not happy with what they're doing. And I think then and only then they'll back off. Because I think for the rest of this, they're just going to play this, well, we made the ordinance and he's in violation of it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm afraid the jury in his county court is not going to get to hear the evidence that we heard. And so it's not, you know what I mean? It's not going to ring as well if you're not hearing the fact that they keep changing this ordinance because of Chris.
Yeah, I'm just yeah, that it is the only way he has a shot is force at this point. Again, it's not in the judge's interest. I mean, he's made that quite apparent to rule on the side of natural rights, right? Again, he brings the proof that he did not violate the 50% thing. And they're not even, then they change. Well, we're just estimating. We're just eyeballing it. He has proof. And the judge says, you have anything else? Well, what the hell else do I have to do? You want me to drone footage and digital layouts, and you want me to go and measure each individual plant?
What does he need? An expert witness to testify that it's actually grass and not sunflower? Like,
so yeah, if he has no interest in the facts,
no,
the city has no interest in the facts. And yes, there's going to have to be some peer pressure here. Again, I would love to see him sue each individual. I would hope he could find an attorney to sue the prosecutor for failing to prosecute a felony that happened on his property because it was her discretion. And I would like to see him sue the alderman, the mayor, maybe the city attorney, whoever cooked this stupid crap up, right? Whoever cooked all this nonsense up, and just sue each and every single one of them. I would absolutely love that. Again, apply the pressure from the public, and then maybe just in the backside, apply a little financial pressure too. It is a sad state of affairs that you have to threaten financially hurting someone in a seat of political power before they will do what we would all consider the right and moral thing to do, which is not violate somebody's personal property rights, not violate their natural rights to have a freaking house somewhere. I mean, you already violate them enough with your taxes and your codes and everything else and your building regulations and everything else. But then to be petty enough to constantly change the rules just so you can prove a point. I mean, you know, we said this about the school board last week. I'm just going to say, what a bunch of spineless twits. If this is what you have to do to make yourself feel important, what a freaking loser. Right? If your only goal in life is to lord over other people or not back down when what you're doing is patently, I mean, you cannot see any other way that except the fact that what you are doing is really dumb and immoral and unconstitutional. If you would rather keep changing the rules, you're acting like somebody's going to call me sexist for this. I don't care. You're acting like a middle school girl, just mean girl. You're just mean girl. You might be a male, but you identify as a mean girl, right? You're acting like a schoolyard bully, and you're just pushing people around. And to me, that speaks that when you go home to your significant other or whoever, that when you get home, you've been castrated. Like you have to go into another building in a meeting and act all tough because when you get home, you probably can't even make the rules. You're probably getting beat at home. I don't know what's going on in your personal life, but you're a big spineless loser. That's my opinion. You're not anyone that people should look up to. You're not anyone that people should be like, oh, we should really reelect these people. They protected us from wayward sun. These people protected us from sunflowers, the most offensive thing on earth. They protected us from sunflowers. I tell you what, I guarantee you, if my wife lived in St. Peters, Missouri, she'd be at that city council meeting like going ballistic. Because my wife loves sunflowers. She'd probably be at that guy's house every day checking out his sunflowers, probably helping him take care of them. I'd be over there taking pictures of them because my wife loves photos of sunflowers. But my wife would be on a warpath. She might have a feathered cap on, war paint on her face, on horseback, riding into City Hall. I don't know what she'd do, but I tell you what, she would have a total come apart on these people. But it's just, good God Almighty.
See what blows my mind too. I'm looking to see if I can find any of these stories that Fox or KSDK, the local stations, would have posted, because you would think with just the amount of social media backlash, because like on Facebook and on like all the places I've seen this posted, everyone's on Chris's side. Like there's no one in the chats or any like in the comments who are like, the city is so in the right and the city has the right to tell him not to put the sunflower. Like no one is saying that. And maybe that's part of the reason they keep dropping the case, but then bringing it back up later, because like you said, the only thing that makes sense here is that they're after Chris. Like this is personal at this point. This has nothing to do with the flowers. This has to do with he won't bow to their demand. So I want to see if I can find the sunflower story and see what the comments are, because I can find articles, but I can't see if I can get to like the comment section on them.
I don't know if it's going to play the audio, but here's the video surveillance from KSDK of this psychopath doing what she's doing. Again, I don't know if there's well, of course there's going to be some stupid ad. Return to, of course, we can't get past watching some clip without seeing some stupid ad. All right, now we can skip the ad. Yeah, it's just, there she goes, just ripping them out of the ground.
Oh my gosh. And they didn't like they have her on footage. And didn't again, it's just because she was doing their bidding. I wonder if it's someone who they know maybe.
Dude, that was my first thought. Is this somebody that they knew and they're like
a city council person an alderman person like put them up to it. So then when they were arrested, they went to the police and were just like, "Hey, we're not prosecuting this one." Because like I found it on Facebook. It's Elliot Davis TV posted the story on October 14th. There's 1.6 thousand comments, and of the first 30, all of them are I'm doing this with sunflowers in my front yard. This looks beautiful. He should charge people for pictures. Everything looks great. Can't believe they're doing this to him. Everything that's going on in the world, and sunflowers is the biggest concern. I would support him. I hope he grows the sun. Like, again, it's a comment after comment after comment.
Yeah.
So the fact that the city is willing to put up with, like, they know that the public's against them on this. So they're willing to risk public opinion of them, like, risking their seats over this personal vendetta. It's almost shocking the level at which they're going to go through with this. And like he was saying earlier, the strategicness of it, dismissed the first year, withdrew the case the second time. When it gets to a certain stage, they pull back. So, I mean,
yeah, I found an article for 3 years ago where they dropped its case. Let's see. I'm trying to see if they show. Banks was supposed to go to trial Tuesday, but the prosecuting attorney told him he was dropping the case because the flowers are now gone. So it was destroyed in cold weather. So they decided, like, all right, we won't do it now.
No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. No. They withdrew because of the public backlash. Yeah. And they keep trying to reintroduce it, and every time thousands of people are vocalize how crazy this is.
Yeah, because then 3 years ago, there was 1, 2, 3 articles on KS or Fox 2 Now about it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and this 3 years ago was violated the city ordinance requiring a certain turf to flower ratio. And after the trial, the judge decided to rule against Banks, stating he was indeed in violation of the city ordinance. He didn't. Banks said the judge ruled with the city. He didn't give me an actual answer. He just ruled with the city that I was not in compliance. Yeah. So that was a $400 fine at that time. Jesus Christ, man. It's at times like these I want to pick my keyboard up off my desk and throw it across the room. Except it wasn't a cheap keyboard, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, folks, again, Brandon and I particularly pay a lot of attention to state and federal news or, national news. But you do have to, you just have to keep, you have to keep an eye on your local, aldermen, mayors, city attorneys, city administrator. I mean, there's so many positions and so many people. In fact, here's another one, right? And I don't understand. Let me pull this up. I didn't know if we'd get a chance to talk to it or talk about it. Talk to it. Yeah, I sound real freaking smart there, didn't I? This is a local, let's see. Find the article. Unless it's like, oh, you want to subscribe to blah, blah, blah. No, I don't. Just, let's see. because the way it's reading is, it's dumb. I don't like. I don't understand. There's one part of the language in here that I don't like. I know we're running closer to end time, but I want to bring this up. I'll full screen it here. A proposed ordinance that would have fined business owners for false alarms. Here's where this is where I'm kind of like, hey, what's going on? From third-party alarm companies, if responded to by the Owensville Police Department, failed to pass only because an alderman was absent. And state statute requires the majority of elected members of the board being in approval of an ordinance. Ward 1 Alderman Dan Brighten introduced a proposal at an earlier meeting. He then researched solutions to the issue from other towns and copied theirs. Brighten told the Republican Tuesday that his focus is solving issues faced by local first responders, such as the fire and police departments, without hurting citizens, comparing the measure to approval of chickens within the city limits and limiting use of slot machines to those aged 21 and under. In the past, multiple officers have been called out to businesses multiple times due to false alarms to go out to the business and find there is no issue. The problem causing the false alarm wouldn't get fixed because there are no consequences. The main thing he wanted to convey was that he feels the ordinance will not affect anyone negatively. He shared that although it is a rare issue, the measure would help the police remain available for valid issue. Okay. Okay, if it's a rare issue, why are you making an ordinance? And then here's the thing. It says third-party alarm companies. So does Owensville, does the city of Owensville have a specific alarm company that they want you to use? I've never heard of that, but that's what I'm getting out of this article. Like, yeah, any alarm company is going to be third party. If the city of Owensville doesn't own the alarm company, it's going to be third party. And then the question is, why would Owensville have an alarm company? Or do they have one they want you to use specifically? I don't know if there's an ordinance for this. But that kind of crap pisses me off, right? It's a rare thing. Okay, then why are you proposing this ordinance? Is it because you want to look all good to fire and police? What are you doing? But yeah, when I saw third party, I was like, that right off the bat, first paragraph, I'm like, something already smells fishy. Something already smells stinky here. What are we doing? When I talk about dumb ordinances and stuff like that, this isn't quite as dumb as flower to turf ratio, right? But it's still dumb. It's still pretty dumb.
It also makes it sound like there are a bunch of business owners out there who get calls at like 1 a.m, 2 a.m, that their alarm went off and that they just enjoy that feeling. Like they make it seem like people are like, man, we got to stop all these people. They love these fake alarm calls to their businesses. That's a heart-dropping feeling for a business owner. Hey, we had to call the police out. There was your alarm at your business went off. Oh, cool. Oh, awesome. Like, no, that doesn't happen. The business owner probably in 99% of the cases is going to take care of it if it happens more than once or twice anyway. I mean, you know what I mean? Plus, it goes off once. How are you supposed to know someone didn't try to get in and that the alarm went off? You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to know it was a false alarm every time? What if someone tried to get in and they didn't? So then now you've got to call a repairman out because somebody tried to get in and you didn't know? I don't know. It's just such, like you said, for something that's rare, this is such a stupid non-issue for a city to go after.
The other thing too, Brandon, I was talking about this with my wife the other day after I read it. And I said, if you had a business owner whose alarm was constantly signaling false alarms and you could tell nothing been tampered with, nobody been there, and it was constantly going off, I would rather the city marshal say, hey, you got to get that fixed because I'm not going to send my guy. Like once a week, this thing's going off and nothing happens. I can't keep sending a guy over for a false alarm. If this continues to happen, we just won't respond because, I'm tired of sending somebody over there for nothing. I'm better off with that than saying, oh, we'll create a fine. Screw you.
No.
Find something. Again, don't you have something better to do, bro?
Not to mention that, like, oh man, yeah, it makes no sense because the business owner is getting alerted. Like a business owner wouldn't have in an active security system that he wanted going off that often. Like you'd have to be the laziest business owner of all time. Like, who's motivated enough to be like, I am gonna be an entrepreneur and I'm gonna start my own business, and I'm gonna set up an alarm system to protect this business. I'm gonna pay monthly. And then when it goes off randomly for false alarms, I'm going to do nothing about it.
I'm just going to ignore it. I hope they break in and steal all stuff. Insurance claim, baby. Yeah, just puts a pillow over his head and like smash it.
Right. Well, I don't know. It's like you said, it's just so stupid. You're fighting a fake boogeyman.
And we talk about this a lot too. This is what government's really good at. Creating some false problem, making it, or just blowing something out of proportion to seem relevant. Like, well, we got to create this No, you don't. You don't have to. It's just, you want to get your name in the paper or whatever. You want to seem like you're all big and bad. And you sound like, to people who like freedom, you sound like a moron. You sound like a tyrant.
When you say that, like when we just said what you just said, it reminded me of like the whole Missouri farms owned by China. It's like that fake threat they have. Like, they hear that people are worried about immigration, so the Republicans in Missouri had to come up with a fake threat to, like, they had to create their own danger. So then they're like, oh, some of the businesses are like 1% of the farms are owned by a Chinese company. Again, just to remind everybody, there aren't a lot of Chinese nationals sitting on tractors in rural Missouri. Like, they're not harvesting the crops. So if the Chinese government came after the farmland, you're expecting a bunch of white farmers to just give up their land and their crops to the Chinese government? You're insane. Like, again, the whole the Chinese farmland things always drove me nuts. And again, it's just part of the broader picture that from the city level to the federal level, they will create their own problems just to go out and solve them and make themselves look important and feel important and whatever.
Can you imagine? Like, it's a farm owned by a Chinese company. Everybody on there is Chinese. I have a question. So back in the day when you had family farm, right? You literally would have a bell on the front porch, and it was like lunch was ready, supper's ready, to ring a bell. So everybody knew to come in and eat. Would a Chinese farm have a big gong?
I knew you were going.
or I don't know. That was a big national issue. And then the Republican Party took it and all these conservative champions need to parrot this Chinese threat. So it's at the national level and then the state level. The Republicans were just picking that up, spewing it out ad nauseum, and people getting worked up about it. I'm like, have you not seen your tax rates? Have you not seen how bad we're getting screwed? You're worried about something. Also, the same people who are trying to scare you with the Chinese threat won't deregulate farming at all to help the local farmers out so they stop going out of business. They won't do that. They'll drum up a boogeyman for you to be scared of, but they won't fix the underlying issue, which is too much government in every freaking thing that you do.
Can we really quick, since you kind of just touched on it there, go talk about how Donald Trump has declared that Lindsey Graham and Randy Fine are MAGA warriors, but Thomas Massey and Rand Paul are threats to the democracy. That's not his exact words, but he is basically saying that they're the grandstanding issue with the Republican Party. But tell me how it's America first for Trump to just blindly sign an agriculture deal with Argentina And again, I like Millier, and he's a libertarian, so he's got my support down there. But he did offer make a multi-billion-dollar
20
trade,
billion.
$20 billion agriculture deal subsidy, basically, to prop up the Millier government right before the elections, these midterm elections that they just had the last couple days or yesterday, maybe.
And that they won apparently seats.
Yeah.
The Libertad party won more seats, which is a big win for Millet. But yes, no.
Right. But Thomas Massey is the one fighting for American farmers. He's the one who's tried to put the Prime Act out there because there are only like 4 or 5 major USDA approved agriculture shipping places. So what Thomas Massey wants to allow farmers to do, cattle farmers, is to be able to sell their beef, or I'm assuming pork too, but beef within the state of Missouri. Like if you're a Missouri farmer, you can sell beef in Missouri without having to go through one of these regulatory agencies. And it'll save consumers money. It'll give independent farmers a lot more options, and help. It's just beneficial for everybody. And of course, Trump doesn't want to do that. Everyone always attacks Thomas Massey as some guy without ideas, but every time he puts out an idea, all you hear is crickets.
Yep.
Like again, it's so crazy that the main reason he's going at 2 main reasons, maybe. One is the Epstein thing, because to the bottom of the Epstein files. And then the other thing is he won't vote for his bloated, like the Republicans put out Biden level spending. Now the Democrats want more than Biden level spending, so that's why our government's shut down right now. But Thomas Massey said, hey, what if we quit spending so much money? Like instead of spending at Biden levels, what if we spend even less than that? And the Republicans, 1% cut, and the Republicans are losing their minds. And Thomas Massey's the enemy, he's a grandstander, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I just don't know if you had any thoughts and seen how just whenever the election was happening and there was a big push within the Libertarian Party to make a coalition, like build a relationship where you can. Again, I've said it before on the show and I'll say it again. You can't build a coalition with people who want to push out Thomas Massey and put in Lindsey Graham. There's no way ideologically we're going to be able to sit down at the table and come to something. If in 2025 you still support Lindsey Graham, I mean, I didn't even know those people even existed. I thought he just magically ended up back in the Senate. Like there's no vote. No, he just was grandfathered in, because I couldn't imagine him winning a popular vote election. But that's MAGA for you.
I'll end the show by saying this. It is some of the dumbest. And you can tell when you get on X and all these people are trashing Thomas Massey. Look at their comments. They all sound the same, which means they're paid influencers. They're paid by the Republican Party to put this crap out there. They're not thinking for themselves. And it's time for those people who want to make America great, get off the MAGA bandwagon, because it's time for them to be called the maggots. The maggot, they're parasites, and everything that's dying or dead, these ideas are dead. They should be dead, and they're flocking to dead ideas. Tyrannical, unconstitutional, immoral things, they're all flocking to that. They're all maggots. People with common sense who want to be America first. The real America first people are the ones who are backing Massey and Rand Paul. They are not the dyed-in-the-wool Trump cult members. The real America first people are the Rand Pauls and the Thomas Masseys of the world. And the Trump cult should just be called the maggot cult now. Because anything that's bad or is decaying and rotting and stinking, they're attaching themselves to it. It's any idea that will hinder liberty, that will rot it away from the inside out. They're lighting on it, laying their eggs, and their little maggots are all over the place. And then they're just puking this stupid crap out. That's not America first. It does not make America great. It makes America more tyrannical. It makes America more broke. It makes us it makes us dependent on the government or other countries to fund our debt and everything else. It does not make us great. All right. That's going to do it. We are at a minute and 59. Good Lord. We talk so fast. We only burned up a minute and 59 seconds. We're at an hour and 59 minutes. So again, let's get together. Let's try to help Mr. Bank out. Tell everybody you know. Call the city hall. Flood their emails. Cyberbully your local government official. Next week, it looks like Tony Lavasco will be joining us to talk about his bid to run for state rep again. So that's going to be awesome stuff. We appreciate your viewership. We appreciate your listenership. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review, tell your friends about the show, and we'll see you right back here next week, Tuesday at 6:30 for another edition of the Missouri